All right, guys, what's up? Welcome. This is Breakfast with the Brand, and I am your host, Junior Frederick, and you are now tuned in live to the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go to the next level. If you're listening to my voice, two things I need you to do. Number one, put some flames in the comments, and number two, let us know where you're listening in from. And of course, I have with me the man himself, Bobby Jackson, and we're about to get into it. We have a couple topics here. This conversation is going to be a little bit different. From time to time, you'll see Bobby and I switch from me sort of being the interviewer to me being the interviewee. We're going to talk about sales, marketing, and just get into the next level. Bobby, how you doing?
Doing absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's one of those days where you know it's going to be a good day. Like you know everything's going to work out well because everything last night was a disaster, right? It's one of those days. It's like it's got to be better today than
Oh
it
man,
was. No, it was one of those days for me where it was just grinding. I kept hitting speed bumps, and I was like, okay, great. We're about to hit that. We're about to hit that stride. So this morning, when we're talking about leveling up and we're talking about some of the different things that we're going to be talking about, I'm excited because it's like I'm at that leveling up stage too. Like a lot of people are. We're all always leveling up. So I'm feeling absolutely phenomenal.
yes, sir. Bobby, one thing I've known, something I've noticed just being on this journey for quite some time is that man, it's a cycle. It's cyclical, right? So you have highs, you have lows, and the key here is like when you hit a low, the key is to just keep going. In fact, I could
Yeah.
remember when I first got started, I hit a really really low point, man. I hit a low point, but something happened. There was a little bit of transformation in that low point because I realized I said, hey, things cannot literally cannot get worse than this. So that you know what that means? That means it's about to go up. Because the only place that you can go after hitting rock bottom is to go up. That's it. There's no other place you can go. So as we grow through entrepreneurship, we're gonna continue to hit these highs, these lows. And listen, if you're in a low right now, anybody listening, it means you're about to be on the cusp of going to that high. So congratulations. Before we get into it, Bobby, I want to say phenomenal morning to everybody that's you. And I see Lawana. So Lawana, phenomenal morning. Lawana says she's in Atlanta. Shout out to Atlanta. I know a lot of phenomenal people from Atlanta. Let's see. I see Tia. So Tia's in New Jersey. I know a lot of people in New Jersey as well. So shout out to you. And yeah, man, let's get into it. Like for me, Bobby, speaking of lows, so this morning, literally just before the show, I ran into like a flat tire.
Mm,
Into a flat tire that almost prevented me from being here. So guys, when I tell you life keeps life in, there's always something, but you just have to keep going, man. And check this out, Bobby. We have somebody from Brisbane, Australia. Let me see if I got that right. It says Brisbane, Australia. Could you put your name in the comments so I could give you a shout out because I can't see the name on StreamYard for some reason, but I do want to shout you out. So we actually have Australia tuning in, so it's gonna be a phenomenal morning, man. Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah. And I've got some questions for you as far as getting to the next level and systems because I know that you are a high eye. I know that you understand systems in ways that most people don't. So when we talk about diving into getting one to the next level, but two staying there, like how do you get to the next level and then stay at that level until you're going to the next level after that? Because I think sometimes people will have unstable revenue. So that means they got to a level and then they regressed, like they went back to a level. And it's like, dang, I was just up here and now I'm back here. So could you talk a little bit about how important you have found systems to be in one, getting to the next level, and then two, staying at that level until you're ready to scale to the next level?
Absolutely, Bobby. Absolutely. So the importance of systems. I mean, systems is everything. Everything is a system. We're on a system right now. And you know what's so funny? A lot of people think of systems as, I'll use the entrepreneurs, for example, like Kajabi or HubSpot or even StreamYard. They think of these things as systems, but systems, you have hard systems, you have soft systems. So hard systems are things that are more tangible, things that you can see. So for example, your phone has an operating system. Um, the computer as a system. If you go to a manufacturing plant, you could see like an actual system. You could see cars being built, etc., etc. But there's also the soft systems. The soft systems are the systems, the operating procedures that help you to get to where you want to get to. And from what I've noticed when it comes to entrepreneurs, what really makes them slide back, as they say, or backslide, however you want to put it, is really and truly not knowing what it took to get there. So it's like, okay, I got to six figures, but how did I get there? What were the exact steps that it took for me to get there? And something I always tell the people that I consult is, if when you make a sale, so in marketing, and this is a really good question, by the way, guys, put some flames in the chat if you're already getting value from this program. So in marketing, there's something called 0 to 1. So 0 to 1 means how quickly does it take you to get from no clients to one client? So if you're starting your business right now, you have to know what your 0 to 1 is. So is it taking you 30 days? Does it take you 40 days? Does it take you one day? Like whatever that is for you. And then once you get from 0 to 1, you have to know, okay, what were the steps? What were the exact steps that I took to go from 0 to 1? And all you do is you systematize those steps, and then you recreate those steps to go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 4 to 5 to 6, and etc., etc. But to answer your question, I believe that the reason why most entrepreneurs fall off is because they get the win and then they fall in love with the win. Something that I always say is, and this is one of my mentors taught me, is that you can't win today's game with yesterday's score. You can't win today's game with yesterday's score. And entrepreneurs, they get this sort of high from the first sale, and then they completely ignore what it took to get them there in the first place. And that's why they have difficulty recreating it. So finding out what it took for you to get that first win and writing it down, like actually writing it down into a system, is what's going to keep you there. But when you talk about getting to the next level, who you are right now is not who you need to be to get to the next level. And we're about to talk about that after our first break. Guys, listen, if you're enjoying this so far, go ahead, put some more flames, share this out. Also, keep putting those locations in the chat. I see we have Carlos. So Carlos is from Australia. So shout out to Carlos. I see you. I'm reading the comments. Bobby's reading the comments.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this first break. Stay tuned. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Let's go.
Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire and heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Listen, it's about to be absolutely phenomenal. I hope you have your pens and your notebooks. I certainly have mine. Bobby, I think you had a question. Did I answer your question, by the way, or
You
were we
did.
still missing? Okay.
You did. It was the question was how important are systems, and pretty much what I wrote down is if you don't have them, you don't know how you got there. Like if you get progress and you don't have a system in place, it's really hard to find out how you even got the progress. So one of those things that I was thinking about was once you get the system in place, what does the system need to be able to do? So I wanted to put that out there for the people. Like one thing that I look for in a system is predictability and quantify. Can it quantify things? Is it quantifiable? So anything you put into your system, we will call an input. And then anything that we get out of the system, we will call an output. And then whatever we can learn from that process, we call feedback. So the thing that I think is really, really important about systems is that the system needs to have a feedback loop that you can learn from. So that's what I thought was really, really powerful. So as we move into this next piece, as we're talking about just leveling up and getting to that next space, I remember Junior talking to me once. We were talking about how I could scale and grow my business. And he said, the first thing you need is sales. The next thing you need is systems. The third thing you need is strategy. And I remember this call like yesterday. And one of the things that I was working on was sales at the time. I was still trying to get it ironed out. I was still trying to get it working. And I finally got that S down. I was like, okay, boom, we got sales working okay. And then when I went into the strategy piece, I had to learn something that a lot of us might not want to hear, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway, right? You got to learn it. You got to learn the system. And like Junior said, there's hard systems and soft systems. And some of us might not feel like we're tech savvy, but you got to learn it, right? Some of us might not feel like we are the best communicators. And when I say communicators and systems, I'm talking synergy. So synergy is almost a system. It's when you bring multiple people together and they produce a product that's much better than they could have produced by themselves. So that requires communication, that requires people skills. And some people might not feel like they're good people. They're good people. Are you a people person is what they say, right? So at the end of the day, that's a system. The system in that case would be leadership. Believe it or not, leadership is a system. It's the system of leveraging and maximizing human potential. So I just thought that that was really interesting. And my next question for you, Junior, was, and I've got these written down. I was taught early on the quality of your question dictates the quality of your answer. So I wrote down, how hard is it to stay at the next level without a system? And if you get to the next level and you don't have a system, how should you go about implementing this? Because I feel like a lot of people grind hard and they get to that next level without a system and they need to make one on the fly. Do they just hire somebody to build it out? Do they start at square one, tear it down, build it back up? What do they do in that situation?
Well, that's a great question, Bobby. So I would say it's different for everybody. It's based on where you are. So you spoke about the power of systems, and I would say that the number one thing systems give you is leverage. So it's all about buying leverage. So if you're at the next level, I'll give you an example. You may be a big vision type person. You may be a thinker. You may not necessarily be somebody who's good with the details. So to say that, okay, you're at another level and now you need a system to build it on your own, that's like virtually impossible. You need somebody who's what we call an integrator, or somebody who's good with entrepreneurial operating systems to come in and put in the tiny pieces like a COO, chief operating officer, right? So you need somebody that's different. So I think it starts with self-awareness, knowing who you are. Now, if you are the systems type person, you may need somebody to support you when it comes to the vision, leadership, etc., etc. But if you're not the kind of person that is good with systems, then at least be in a position where you could pay somebody else that could help you to implement those systems based on where you are. So that's number one. But let's talk about going to the next level. Now, a quick question for you: are you referring to just business, or are you referring to personally the next level? Because that's two different things. Like
Yeah.
it's all about leverage. It's all about you being able to trade time for leverage. So it's like if I'm at 6 figures, the way I get to 7 is by paying somebody who's at 7 to show me how to get to 7. Like it's very, very tough. Einstein said it's not really possible to solve a problem using the same consciousness that put you in the problem.
Yeah.
So the reason why you are where you are is because you know what you know. You need somebody who knows stuff that you don't know to help you go to the next level. And it's always gonna be some kind of energy exchange. You need a mentor, you need a coach, you need a consultant, you need somebody who is at the level where you're trying to go. And that's so you trade leverage. Now, when it comes to your personal life, your personal growth, you still need coaches, right? But even what you'll find, even with let's say something like sales, for example, there's this like 3 month phenomenon that salespeople go through, where it's like they start making a ton of sales and then they just go into the slump. And I know this from experience because this happened to me, right? This happened to me. So this is something that I personally had to overcome. So you build the sales up, right? So if you're in business, you're in sales, but then at some point you start to dwindle. It's like no sales are coming in or less sales are coming in. You're wondering what's going on. That's where you need to check your mindset. And if you're listening to me right now, I want you to write this down. So write this down. Here's something that I had to do to maintain where I was and then to go to the next level. There's something called weeding the garden of your mind. So just like a garden, we grow weeds, right? So gardens grow weeds. You don't have to convince a weed to grow. In the same way, in the garden of your mind, you don't have to convince weeds to grow. Where do the weeds come from? The weeds come from prospects telling you no. People, commenting stuff under your YouTube video, people not supporting you, people giving you, like, it's coming in from the outside world, it's coming in from several sources, but basically there's input coming in that's causing you to lose belief in yourself. And what you need to do is by weeding the garden of your mind, meaning you need to get all of these things out on paper to actually write them out. So something that I did was I took a piece of paper, I wrote out all of my limiting beliefs, all of my limiting thoughts. And then one by one, I corrected those thoughts by telling myself the truth. So for example, prospect might say, your product is too expensive. Then you hear that from 5 prospects. Then you hear that from 10 prospects. You start to believe them. Subconsciously, you start to believe them. So the 11th prospect, you don't really want to present your product at that price because the past 10 prospects have told you that your stuff is too expensive. So, and that's just one example. That could be anything. It could be people telling you you're not good enough, you're not tall enough, yada, yada, yada. There's so many different sources. So both personally and professionally, what I've found, if you're at a certain level and you want to stay at that level, you need to consistently weed the garden of your mind to remove all self-doubt, all belief that is not pushing you to where you want to go. Completely eliminate and remove that belief, and then take on the next self-image that you need to accomplish or to get to go to that next level. Because who you are right now is not who you need to be to get to where you want to go.
Man, I feel like the audience needed to hear that. That I'm seeing flames, chats, I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. LaWanna even went ahead and put the TAC Junior Frederick to let them know that's a statement. That's one that you need to you might need to say more frequently. But no, that's amazing. I think I think weeding our minds is essential to scaling ourselves, because that's almost what we're talking about now. It seems like we're realizing that there's a dual growth sequence that has to happen. You've got to grow you so you can grow the business, and as the business grows, you've got to grow you. And this dual growth cycle seems to be one that requires different systems. So I remember listening to Les Brown say that he had a system for dealing with grief. He had a system for dealing with grief. So what he would say was that he had like a playlist, and whenever something negative would happen or someone would pass away in his family and he had something important to do and he didn't really have time to grieve, he would play this playlist, and then he would get himself into a mental space that allowed him to execute. I remember him also talking about a time where he was on stage. And while he was on stage, he was performing. The people loved it. They're like, encore, encore, encore. And he gets a phone call. He goes to take the phone call. And when he takes the phone call, he's speaking to his girlfriend. And she's like, I don't know, I don't think this is working out. And he hears another man in the background that says, just hang up already. Just tell him it's over. So now he's got to go back out there on stage with that in his mind. So he had to have a system for releasing quickly, handling the situation presently, and then getting to a space where he could grieve efficiently and effectively. So when we talk about growth and we talk about personal and professional development and scaling a business, I mean, systems is one of those things you can't get around. I feel like that's becoming kind of like the nucleus of this call, even though we're really talking about leveling up. So for you, Junior, as you've leveled up, going from working, I believe, in HVAC, from
Yes,
HVAC
sir.
all
Yes.
the way to copywriting, all the way to high-end luxury closer. Like, I want to make sure I frame this question as best I can. So I want to give it a little context first. So a lot of people think that when they get to the next level, life gets easier. They feel like at this level, it's so hard. And once they get to the next level, it gets easier. In my personal experience, I've not found that to necessarily be true. But I want to ask you, as you've leveled up, as you have started a family, as you have built a business, as you have gone from HVAC to high-end luxury closer, at each level, did it get easier or did it remain difficult? And if it remained difficult, did you change your system or was the same system used to continue leveling up? So, and just for the people watching, the goal of this question is to give you a perspective on if your system can be set it, let it, and forget it, meaning this system got me from this point to that point to this point, or if the system needs to be under constant revision. All right.
Bobby, that is an excellent question. So I'll start by saying this. I don't think life gets easier. I think we get better. Life is just life. Life is the same for everybody. Listen, like I know people that have been through very, very tough, very, very, very tough circumstances that have made it out. And then you have people that have been through easy circumstances and they haven't made it, to where they want to be. So I would say that it never gets easier. We get better. So that's number one. And then when you frame the question that way, something that comes to mind, something that I did, a little bit consciously, a little bit unconscious, was I've always had what I call laws, rules, and codes. We're talking about personal, right? So laws, rules, codes. Laws, rules, codes. I want everybody on this call to picture themselves as a king or queen. So if you're listening to this right now, I want you to picture yourself as a king or queen. So every king, every queen has a kingdom or a queendom, or however you want to phrase it, right?
Yeah.
So what I want you to think of is as you approach this kingdom or queendom, right? You have this, the first thing you see is this wall. So there's a moat, there's a wall. Every kingdom that like way back in the day, they had this huge wall. So the wall is a system. What is the purpose of the wall? The purpose of the wall is to prevent intruders from coming in. Within the confines of the wall, there exist laws, rules, codes. That makes up our society. Society has laws. That's how we're civilized. So in your mind, right, you should see yourself as a queen, as a king, as the controller, as the master of your life, okay? And you being the controller, you being the leader of your life, you need to set up your boundaries. So boundaries are not only telling people what they can and cannot do. Boundaries are also telling the outside world what you will and won't allow. So for me, I had laws, rules, and codes that just didn't allow me to fail. Sun Tzu said something in The Art of War. He said the only way to guarantee your victory is to ensure that you can never be defeated. Let me say that again. The only way to ensure your victory is to ensure that you can never be defeated. And what I've done is I've ensured that I can never be defeated by putting in the right mental models that don't allow me to fail. So for me, I don't believe in anything that disempowers me. I don't believe in anything that's going to take away my power, my personal power. I just don't. Like, you could tell me whatever you want, I just don't. So you could tell me I'm not good enough. You can, prospect and say the price is not high. I don't hear that stuff because I have my mental model says don't listen to that. So I've sort of immunized and polarized myself on the other end of the spectrum by having the right laws, rules, and codes set up for my mind so that I don't take in anything in the first place. It's almost like with your health. If you don't put in bad food into your body, the chances of you getting sick are very, very slim. Outside of anything genetic, etc., etc., it's very, very slim. So if you just don't do it, like, okay, for example, it's like all right, so let's say you're a person, you have no genetic problems, etc., etc. You're not genetically predisposed to anything. If you don't eat like excess sugar, what are the chances of you getting like diabetes? Very, very low, next to none, right? If it's not in your blood genetically, right, it's next to none. So I just don't do it. Like, I just don't do it. So when it comes to like the uh the laws, the rules, the codes, I've set up the right mental models that allow me to succeed. And that in itself is a system. So guys, the best way to ensure your victory is to ensure you can never be defeated. And if you're an entrepreneur, the way you do that mentally is by setting up the right mental models that only take in things that empower you, only taking things that drive you, that only taking things that are going to push you to who you want to be and who you want to become. And that's the way you do it. That's the secret, man. So that's work for me. That's work for me. So when you talk about how did he go from HVAC to doing this to doing that in a relatively short space of time? Listen, two things: mental model, number two, vision. So number one, mental model, number two, vision. So you have to have a vision. You have to know what you want. You know, Sean, and shout out to Sean. Sean said something. Sean often says that he lives in the future. He says that he lives in the future. So Sean is Sean today, but in his mind, he's 10 years away from where he is today. So shout out to him for that, because that is so true. So having a vision for yourself is going to give you the mental fortitude, but having the right mental models in place is going to give you the right protection to ensure that you could keep pressing forward. So for me, one of my mental models is life doesn't happen to me, it happens for me. So regardless of what happens, it's happening for me. And I just need to figure out why. So that's the answer to the question, Bob. Hope that answered the question.
That gave the keys. That gave the keys, brother. Because I think a lot of individuals are looking for a magic pill. Sometimes we can look for a magic pill, myself included. At times when I was first getting started, I was like, if I can just figure out what one thing I need to do, then I'll make it. What one thing am I not doing? What one thing do I need to figure out? And the reality is, if there was one thing at all, it'd definitely be in the mind. But once you get into the mind, you realize that there's not just one thing. There's so many things that you have to do. You've got to do the mental work. You've got to do the physical work. You've got to do the spiritual work. You've got to do the technical work. You've got to do the non-technical work. It's just so many things that you have to do in order to get to where you want to be. So I think having the right mindset allows you to process things properly. And I think that's something very important. So a system is oftentimes a process, and a process processes things. So when we're talking about leverage and we're talking about all of these things that we're experiencing right now, a reason that we can get stuck in our businesses and we can't level up and get to, like, we hit these glass ceilings is because we don't have the ability to process the next level. It's almost like a baby's digestive system. When a child is small, they don't have the digestive tract to digest red meat. They can only digest milk. So that means the digestive system, stomp, stomp, the digestive system is not equipped to process what they're trying to feed it. So it shuts down. And what's really important is you need, say, meat or protein. You don't necessarily need meat, but you need those complex proteins in order to build the muscle and to build the mind and the brain, so to speak. So what are we talking about here? A lot of times we get stuck at the next level, or we get stuck at this glass ceiling because we don't have the processing ability to intake what's being pushed out effectively enough to turn it into muscle or to turn it into fuel. So systems is crucial for the next level. It's crucial for the next level. And when we think about our mind, our mental model, the mental model is a system. And the way I like to think about it is titanium mindset. So Junior says it's the mental model, your kingdom. For me, it's titanium mindset. And I think that that's a great place to leave off on. As we come back from the break, we can dive into what the titanium mindset looks like for me, how I've used it to leverage my own processing hurdles, because we all have to process things, and what you might be able to do to build your own mental moat.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're going to add a zero to the world, but you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow.
I'm Jackie Miller, and I was really drawn to Sean's personality from the moment that I did the Branding Like a Leader challenge. This was the free challenge that he offered. And I'm so glad that he offered it, because I joined the class and I was blown away. First of all, by his giving personality. For me, it was the personality that really drew me in. But then as he was sharing his wealth of knowledge, I realized that there was so much that I didn't know. I already knew there was a lot I didn't know, but there was so much that I didn't know. And he was just freely giving this information. It was evident that he really wanted to help people. And as somebody who likes to help people, that I connected with that. And then I was able to connect not only with Sean, but then with his team, with Junior and with Jason, Mr. B, and just the entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond. One day, something had come up, and Junior he texted me just to see how I was doing. And that really touched my heart. So that relational piece is there. So if you were having any doubts about what Mr. Sean Wright East and his team with the brand can offer you, let me let you know. It is a treat and it is a joy, and you will not be disappointed.
All right, guys, we're back. Bobby,
Yes.
it's definitely been an amazing show. Definitely been an amazing show so far, man.
It has been. It has been. I see Lawana saying, be willing to immunize, and polarize yourself to insulate your mental model. I thought that was pretty interesting. So back to the titanium mindset. So in the Marine Corps, they say pain is weakness leaving the body. So that is one of our titanium mindsets. So when we feel pain, we train ourselves to believe that weakness is leaving the body. So what we end up doing is we look for painful things to do. Like literally, like think about that. When you frame it in your mind that pain is weakness leaving the body, and you have every intent to be as strong as possible, what do? You go look for pain. And when you find pain, we also understand that it's time under tension. So not only do we need to find pain, but we need to find pain and sustain it. And that's a mindset that helps Marines win, period. Like we don't lose at all. We find a way to make it happen. And that's a part of my titanium mindset. And after I left the military, I reconstructed it a bit to kind of continue developing it. And now what I say is pain is the beginning of discovery, because that's what I really learned is what Marines really want is we want to know what we're capable of. Like how far can I really push myself? Like what is this body able to do? What is this mind able to do? What can I possibly do? And what we end up doing is we go and we go and we go and we go and we go until we break. And once we break, we don't get upset. We don't get sad. We don't go, woe is me. We say, interesting. What a what a wonderful discovery. Like I found my limit in this area. And then what we do is we say, if I train hard, and if I stopped doing this and started doing this and combine this with that, I wonder, could I get over this level? Like, can I go further? And what we do is we put together a regimen and then we go at it again and boom, and we're like, interesting. Got a little bit further. And we just keep doing that. And I think that if we have that mindset, more and more as business owners, what we'll realize is that our ceilings are not necessarily ceilings. They're not limitations. They're not things to hold us back, but instead they're things to observe. They're things to say, I hit a wall. Why? Can I get over it? So my next question for Junior would be, since we've been talking about leveling up, and since this is Breakfast with the Brand, how has your brand evolved and leveled up as you've leveled up? Because we know you are the brand. So as you have evolved and as your brand has evolved and you've gone to the next level, what would you say has been one of the greatest benefits from leveling your brand up along with yourself?
That's a great question, Bobby. So, couple things. I believe a brand is who you are expressed at your core in the form of a business. So, branding in the way that we do it, I believe that it's who you are at your core expressed in the form of a business. So, for me, couple ways that my brand has grown is number one, vision. So, number one is vision. So, the vision has grown. Number two, the brand itself has grown, meaning the person has grown. So, Jay Z has this thing, right? Everybody knows about Jay Z. So Jay Z says, "I'm not a business man. I'm a business man," right? So Junior Frederick has grown. The person, the business has grown. So I've acquired different skills. I've increased my marketing skills, sales, and now I'm always looking on leadership skills. So sales, marketing, leadership, communication, etc., etc. So personally, I have grown, right? So vision, I would say vision, I would say skills, I would say also just if you look at a human being as having this sort of, like, everybody right now, picture a circle around you, okay? Picture a circle around you. And within that circle are all of the different things that you know. So there's your knowledge, there's your interest, there's your hobbies, there's your responsibilities. It's like an invisible circle around you right now, okay? So for me, all of those things have grown. So things that I'm interested in have grown. My perspective has grown. My hobbies have grown. My leadership has grown. The people and the things that I'm responsible for have grown. Now, let's take it back to business. All of those things are important. So the personal also integrates with the business. So in branding, there's what you call different points of, I call it points of affinity. So now I can relate to people more. So I could say I'm a parent, for example. Before I couldn't say that. Now I could say I'm a parent. And when you say I'm a parent, as small as that sounds, when you tell your story, it connects to people who are parents. So your ideal prospects may also be parents. Okay. So I could say I've experienced X, Y, and Z. That is relatable. All of that is what we call affinity in marketing. Now, even if those things don't seem like business, they seem more personal, it all crosses over. So, for example, Bobby, you're a CFO, okay? So you're a CFO, you like certain things, maybe you like golfing, okay?
Yeah.
But let's say you acquired a new hobby. Let's say you acquired a hobby like I don't know, race car driving. Guess what? You cross over into the race car driving market because you've expanded your interests. So now when you put out your message and you're just talking about, hey guys, I was on the track the other day and we're driving this Ferrari, da 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 da. We went around the ring, da da da. And you talk about your experience. What starts to happen is people in that space, they start to look at what you do and they can relate to you. They say, okay, I like this guy. He's driving fast cars. I like fast cars. He's also a CFO. I have a business. I need a CFO. Guess who they're going to call? They're going to call Bobby. So as you expand your circle, you expand your interests, your hobbies, the things that you like, the things that you know, the people that you're responsible for, your various experiences, you expand your brand. So you growing personally also means you growing professionally. And I would say for me, I have more than 10x, like my perspective is completely different. I've went from having an island perspective, so having a local perspective, to having a global perspective, and as a result, my brand has grown, both internally and externally.
Wow. You know, that just makes me think about influence. Influence. So when you level up properly, your circle of influence should grow, and that's what a lot of us want, even though we don't always articulate it that way. It's like we want impact. That's how I think we say it more often. We say impact.
Yeah.
And to impact, you have to influence, you have to be influential. And I find it very interesting that all of these things tie together. All of these things tie together when you think about expanding your brand, when you think about expanding your moat, your boundaries, what happens inside of your own mind when you think about where you want to go. So if you're in the audience right now, and thank you guys for sharing this out, continue to share this out, put the flames in the chat if Junior is breaking this thing down for you guys, right? If you're watching this right now, I'd highly recommend you ask yourself, how has my influence increased? My circle of influence, like what can I influence today that I couldn't influence last year? Because that's a great way to see where the growth is. So if you've influenced the market, that means you're probably attracting more people to your brand. So you have more influence in the marketplace. If you are like Junior and you've started a family recently and you are impacting your community in this way by growing the local community, that's more influence in that way. Or if you're a leader, like you got more employees or more people under you, if you think about your influence, a great place to start, and something that I try to do every year, and I've been getting better and better at how I do it, is I like to do an annual review. And in my annual review, I'll pretty much say, okay, what did I do well? What did I not do so well? What was my main point of friction? What were the things that I did exceptionally? And as I would go through this process, I would be able to figure out what things I need to do next year to be extremely phenomenal and what things I did this year to be extremely phenomenal. And that's kind of how I build my system. I build my system around the things that I did that worked, and I identify the things that I didn't do well that need to be optimized. So then I build the mindset necessary to process those things that were stumbling blocks. So if I didn't process, and what I mean by this is every time we show up to life, life shows up too. It's not like we're just showing up and life is rolling over. It's more like life is there every day. Then either you roll or you process what life is throwing at you. And that's where the mindset comes in. So what I would do is I would look at those things that were challenging for me. And then I would say, okay, life showed up and so did I. But life, I wasn't able to process this efficiently enough for me to overcome it in the way I needed to go to the next level, or in the way that I needed to be consistent with my brand. Because sometimes we'll get things done, we'll process things, but we won't do it in consistency with our, what Junior calls, laws, rules, and codes. Like if you get through something, but you do it while breaking your code or breaking your laws or breaking your rules, then that's like breaking form when you're working out. You're contorting your body. Yeah, you got the weight up, but you did it in a way that was, one, a bit reckless, two, unhealthy, and three, could injure you. And four, if you needed a fourth one, just isn't in keeping with who you believe yourself to be. So that was one piece. And as we start coming to the next break, I would like to set the context for one of my final questions as as a business owner. Like if I'm looking to level up and I'm also looking to attract my ideal team, because a lot of us are looking to level up, but we're looking for what instead of who. And we oftentimes understand that sometimes it's not what you need, but it's who you need. And when you have the who in place, you can go to that next level. So as you've leveled up, how did you attract the right people to you? Is one of the questions that I'd like us to answer as we come back from the break. Is how can people attract who they need by leveling up who they are?
So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
So for me, it was pretty much learning a little bit more about how to communicate, how I can build my personal branding and my personal development. With me, I do a lot of nonprofit work. I also work at Salesforce. So just trying to find better ways that I can network, that I can make sure when I walk into a room that my presence is felt. I felt as if he had a lot of takeaways, especially how he dissected the chessboard and like the king, the queen, the rook, the knight. So I really like that person because I love chess too. Life is chess, the world is chess, it's not checkers. So that's what I really like about that.
All right, guys, so we are back. Of course, this has been Breakfast with the Brand. If you've enjoyed the show so far, go ahead and put some more flames in the comments. Bobby, before we get to your question, I just want to let everybody know that there is a Black Friday sale going on. So, guys, you've heard us talk about leadership, you've heard us talk about sales, marketing, etc., etc. If you're looking to level up your leadership, if you're looking to go to the next level, if you're looking to take advantage of the opportunity to go to the next level, then what I need you to do is go to www.seanrice.com, fill out the contact us form, or you could send an email to support@seanrice.com to get access to that Black Friday sale. Okay, Bobby, so let's talk about your question. So I believe your question was, how do you attract the right people, right?
Yes, by leveling up yourself. Exactly.
This is it. So here's how you do that, Bobby. This is exactly how you do that. So check this out. If you're a business owner and you're looking to attract somebody who's very good at what they do, chances are they're already making money if they're good at what they do. It means that money is not going to be the thing that moves them. So a lot of people say, well, I don't have money to hire a team. Okay, that's fine. But if somebody's making like me, I don't move for money. Like money doesn't move me, right? Money doesn't move me. So it has to be something different. It has to be something different. And what that thing is, it's called vision. You have to have a vision. So you have to have a vision, but not only a vision, you have to have a vision that can encompass the vision of everybody on your team. So people need to know that okay, if I join this person, I'm going to win as well. But then there's also a second part of that. So not only do you need to have the vision, you need to have integrity. So you need to be who you say you are. You need to do what you say you're gonna do, and you need to never break your promise to anybody ever. Because trust me, like people remember that stuff. So don't, if somebody comes on board with you, don't tell them one thing and then do another thing. Because they start to look at you like, huh, that's interesting, right? So if you say you're gonna do this, then do that. If you say you're gonna do that, then do this. So I would say two things: having a vision for the future that encompasses everybody else's vision, meaning that people could accomplish their own personal, professional, etc., vision by helping you to accomplish your vision, but also having the integrity to be who you say you are, to do what you say you're going to do, and to not break promises, because that's very, very important. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you start breaking your promise to somebody who's an A player, then they're going to notice that, and that's going to affect your relationship with them. So that's what I would say, Bobby. I would say number one, vision, having a vision, but number two, having the integrity to be who you say you are. Like, listen, if we're in a bad place, that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know. But if you display integrity through the tough times, then that says a lot. So people will stick with you even when you're in a bad place if you display integrity. But when you're in a good place and you don't display integrity, when you're in the bad place, people don't stick with you. You see what I'm saying? Like
Right.
even if I just use an example, and this is for the people. Like if you're married right now, okay, if you're married right now and you have a spouse that loves you, chances are like they'll stay with you even if you're living in a cardboard box, right. So they'll stay with even if you're living in a cardboard box. That person really loves you because you are who you say you are. Okay, you're just in a bad place. But if you're not who you say you are, even if you're living in a mansion, chances are they're not going to stay with you because there's no integrity. So you have to have the vision, yes, but you have to also have the integrity to be who you say you are and do what you say you're going to do and not break your promises. And to be very candid about where you are, what you're going to do, what you want to do, and how they can help you.
Wow. Wow. That's so good because it transcends business. I think that transcends business. When we talk about being effective, just being effective in life, you want to have the right people on your team. You want to have the right family dynamic. You want to have close friends that you can lean on and that can support you. And I think that understanding that dynamic of integrity and keeping your promises and having a vision big enough to encompass the vision of everyone else, crucial. It's crucial. And I actually think that having a vision that encompasses everyone else's vision is something that entrepreneurs can struggle with. And I think we struggle with this area because we're already thinking big, right? We're already thinking big. What do they say? If your dreams don't scare you, think bigger. So we're already nervous. We're already scared. If we're literally dreaming big. So dreaming so big that you can encompass the dreams of someone else, that's another level. And it's a subtle distinction, but I want to say it again so that you guys really hear me. If your dream scares you and you need other people that have dreams just as big, that means their dreams have to scare them. So if you're the leader that's attracting a phenomenal team, that means you have a dream so big that you're scared, and you have a dream so big that the people that you attract have dreams so big that they're scared. So it really puts a weight on the leader to lead in a way that you've got to exhibit Teflon courage. Like the courage that you have to execute on every day has to be the type of courage that other people's dreams are. I'll say it like this: you have to be so courageous that you enable and empower other people to be courageous. Like that's the type of courage you have to have because their dreams are just as big. So one, I just wanted to lean into that because I think sometimes we can just overlook it. We can overlook how big the dream really has to be and how much responsibility comes with the weight. But as we roll into the second piece, the integrity. Oh, I want to talk about this a little bit. So integrity is interesting when you're scaling rapidly. It's so interesting because you're literally becoming someone that you didn't know you were. So I'll put it to you like this. Like Les Brown said, if you criticize me for something I did that I would not do today, you're convicting an innocent person. I'll say that again. Les Brown said, if you are convicting me, if you're ridiculing me about something I did yesterday that I would not do today, you're convicting an innocent person. And that's rough. That's rough because when we're going through things and we're executing, we are doing things, we're processing our process the best we know how. And we're saying things to people that are genuinely true in our current level of development. But as we get to the next level, we become better. As Junior said earlier, life doesn't get easier, we get better. And as we get better, we perform better, but people can hold on to the lack of performance and the promise. There's a lot here, so I just really want to take it slow. Like if you are growing your business, scaling yourself, executing daily, and you are in a marriage and you've got a significant other and you've got kids, I want to walk you through what a day could look like because it's looked like this for me. We're going to be better off. Trust me, honey, life's going to get better. I'm leaving my job. I'm that guy. True statement. I get into business with all the vigor of a 12-year Marine, with all the vigor of an accomplished student, with all the vigor of 3 businesses behind me. And I hit turbulence. And as I hit turbulence, when I went into this thing gung-ho, I said, you won't have to worry about anything. Trust me, I got us. We're going to make it. A year in, maybe a year and a half in, family goes without insurance. People are talking about taking the house. They don't know, putting groceries on. I've got to say. And in that reality, I'm pretty much a liar. So when we talk about integrity, it's really integrity to self. You've got to be, Shakespeare put it like this: if you are true to yourself, you can be false to no other man. And what we have to be able to do is we have to be true to ourselves, maintaining our own rules, our own codes, our own laws, and trusting that as things arise, we're showing up in accordance with our convictions to the best of our ability. And when you do that, the family, they're not going to always, be so happy with you. And they're oftentimes going to say, you lied to me. And what you're going to have to be able to do is say, and this is tough because you're going to have to say, I did not lie to you. I just wasn't the man or woman I thought I was to deliver the promise I made to you. And that requires a level of responsibility. It says that I did not lie to you. I just wasn't the man or woman I thought I was, which is why I could not deliver the promise that I made to you. However, my results show that I'm getting better at what I'm doing. I'm scaling, I'm improving, I'm developing. And for this, I need you to forgive the the lack of humility, the arrogance, because that's what happens. Like we jump into things, and it's not a blatant arrogance, it's an ignorant arrogance. It's like we think that things are going to be easier than they are, and they turn out to be much harder than we ever expected. And that's just a part of integrity that you learn and you grow and you get better with. So as I end, and I know the show's coming to an end, I want to leave you guys with this piece on integrity. What I've learned is that humility is one of the greatest integrities. Humility is the greatest integrity. Humility with yourself, like, hey, I'm about to do something that's extremely risky. I'm not going to stop until we arrive, but I don't know how difficult it's going to be. If you stand by me through this process, we can make it. If you give up on me through this process, I'm not going to give up on you. And as long as we can stick this thing out, we will arrive. That level of accountability, humility, and just showing up the way you have to show up in order to win in life is the type of integrity that, doesn't always get immediate respect. But when you finally do deliver, it's a rewarding experience. That's my piece.
Wow, Bobby, that was absolutely amazing, man. And before we end, I want to say something to add on to what you just said. So another key piece is intent. So communication and intent. People can feel your intent. Like put a number one in the chat if you could feel somebody's intent. So in the situation we spoke about, your intent was in the right place. Your intent was in the right place. You lead if you lead with your heart, guy, I promise you, people know you're not perfect. No, none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. Bobby's not perfect. We're gonna make mistakes. And when you have a team, the team knows that you're gonna make mistakes. They know that you're gonna make mistakes, but if your intent is there, if people could feel your intent, if they could say, well, okay, I know Junior asked me to do this. We didn't get it right. However, I know he was fully invested. He really thought this was gonna work out, etc. He put all in, which is very important. Like, don't tell me to do something and then you chilling at the beach. Put all in. You have to go all in. You have to be that kind of leader that is on the ground, boots on the ground, next to your people. Okay, you have to be that kind of leader. But if your intent, if your heart is in the right place, if you're a servant leader and people can feel that, then I really and truly believe that, if you make an error, people will forgive you. You won't have to ask for their forgiveness. They will just forgive you and they'll move on with you. And to sort of talk about the burden of leadership, the burden is not as heavy when you have alignment. The burden is not as heavy when you have alignment. People will want to work with you because they aspire to be like you. People will want to work with you because they aspire to be like you. But for them to aspire to be like you have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. For them to aspire to be like you, for them to aspire to go to the next level, whether it comes to business, sales, marketing, speaking, etc., just personally, professionally, whether it be with your family life, etc., whether it's with your wealth, you have to do something. You have to put in the work so that they can aspire to be like you, so that you have sort of that coach mentor, coach mentee type relationship where you're leading your team. But if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to do the work, nobody's going to follow somebody who doesn't do the work. Nobody's going to follow somebody who doesn't do the work. That's like following a commander who's never been to the battlefield. It does not make sense. So you have to put in the work. You have to be a servant leader. You have to have the right intent. And once you have those things, you should be fine. Whether you make an error, because people on your team are going to make errors too. Right, Bobby? Don't forget that. Your team is going to make errors too. But the point is, were they doing what they're supposed to do? Was the intent and was their heart in the right place? And honestly, if it is, I think you should forgive people, help them to grow, and keep moving forward, because that's what life is about. Guys, thank you so much. This has been Breakfast with the Brand. Bobby, do you have any closing comments before we sign out?
Man, I just see all of the comments. So the last thing that I would say as we close out is, if apologies are in order, go make them. Go make them. Like, if you did some things, said some things ignorantly, there's nothing wrong with ignorance, especially once you know. Like, if you know better and you're like, man, I might have come off arrogantly, or I might have lied, even though it wasn't intentional. I would just say, go make amends, apologize, get humble about it, so that you can set yourself up for success. And the last thing that I will say is a piece on alignment. So expectation management, I think, is everything. And a great part of this is, like, if you can help manage the expectations of your wife, your kids, your team, yourself, like, manage expectations, but set expectations too. Set them high, but also manage the impact that failure has on the team. And that's something that I just want to leave you guys with. Like, that's the responsibility of the leader, is to bear the brunt of unsuccessful campaigns while keeping the team encouraged, which oftentimes means, the way we say it in the Marines, is give the credit for good things to your troops and take full responsibility for everything that goes wrong. And that just simply means always, always, always be the buffer. And that's the last piece I'll leave, if you want, like, solid teamwork and alignment.